decades.
Okay, let's dive in.
The
We're
U.S.
looking at
government
this
line was basically
really fascinating pattern today. It seems
supernatural
simple,
stuff,
just overlapping
psychic
powers.
powers,
Deceptively
telepathy,
simple.
seeing
yes.
things
It's called
far
the
away with
flower
your
of
mind.
life.
Pure
Or
fantasy.
fail,
That's
for
what
short.
they told everyone.
Yeah,
And
that
the
was the
truly
public
strange
phase.
part is where it
Complete
shows
skepticism.
up. We're talking
But
ancient
while that was the
sites all
official
over the
story,
world.
That's right.
behind closed
Egypt,
doors,
India,
something
China,
something
Greece,
much stranger was
even
apparently
popping up
going
in
on.
Leonardo da Vinci's
Deep inside
private
the
notebooks.
intelligence
It's this
community.
It's a really
motif
interesting
across,
contrast, isn't it? Publicly, it's all scientific
Which
dismissal.
leads us to the core
Privately,
puzzle, doesn't
the
it? How did
Pentagon, the
civilizations,
CIA,
separated
they're
by
clearly
vast
wrestling with
oceans,
something very
thousands
different.
of years
These
sometimes,
fantasies
all
suddenly
land on
become
the exact same,
a
rather
serious
complex
strategic issue.
19th century design.
Is it just
and
a
that
massive
worry, that sort of
coincidence,
creeping
or maybe something
fear
more
about
profound,
psychic
like a kind of
warfare,
universal
it leads
map?
to one of the honestly
where it
most
gets
bizarre
bizarre
and
Yeah.
top
Is
secret
it some kind of
projects the
hidden
whole
code?
Cold War.
Project
Maybe
Sunstreak.
deliberately guarded
I mean, just
by
picture it.
secret
An actual
societies,
government
shadow
project trying to
governments,
weaponize the
or
human
perhaps
mind,
left by
funded
someone,
off the books,
Yeah.
or something.
secret.
And
Much older.
officially, the
That's
cover
what we're
story,
digging
or maybe
into.
the
We want to
initial idea
unpack
was
the sources
remote
behind
viewing.
these
Right.
flower of life
This
theories. Where do they come
supposed
from?
So where do we
ability
start? What's
for
the most
trained people
compelling
to just sort of
physical
perceive
piece?
distant
I think we have to
places,
begin in
secret
Egypt.
enemy bases, maybe even
Specifically,
peek into the
temple
future.
of Osiris
all
at
just
Abydos.
using their
It's
minds.
really one of the most
And we should be clear, this wasn't
physically
some
baffling
like,
pieces
side
of
hobby.
evidence.
It wasn't just a few
Abydos.
folks
Yeah.
messing around.
Okay, what
This
makes
was
it
a
so
strategic
baffling?
move.
Well,
a direct
you find the
response to what
flower
they
of life
thought the
pattern
Soviets were
etched
doing.
directly
They
onto
were
this
urgently
massive
trying to get an
ancient
edge
granite
in a
pillar
completely
inside
new
the
kind
temple.
Etched on the ground.
battlefield.
And that's
Now,
what we're doing
I've
today.
heard some
We're gonna peel back
archaeologists
those
just say,
layers
oh,
of
it's basically
secrecy, ancient graffiti,
really
like someone just scratched
deep
it on
dive
there
into
later.
Project
That's the standard
Sunstreak
dismissal, yes.
and the kind
But
of wild
people who've actually
conspiracy
examined it
theories that are
closely,
still swirling
researchers
around
on
us.
site,
Yeah, because the
they
story goes
describe it
way
very
beyond
differently.
just
So?
psychic
They say
spying.
the
Oh,
lines aren't
absolutely.
just scratched.
It might have cracked
They appear
open the door
burned
to,
or
well,
etched into the
alien
granite.
contact,
And the
maybe even
description often
some sources
uses
suggest
with almost
interdimensional
laser-like
It gets pretty out
precision.
It really does.
laser-like
So we're
precision
going to look at where it came from,
on
the really
granite.
unsettling
That's- I mean,
things that viewers
granite is
report
unbelievably
seeing,
hard.
the,
Exactly, it's incredibly
weird
durable
overlaps
stuff.
with
So
old
the
occult
immediate question
stuff,
isn't just
and
why
these
the symbol
incredible
is
claims
there,
about
but how did
contacting,
a civilization,
well, the
supposedly
unknown.
working with
So yeah, settle in.
copper
This is where
chisels
things
and
get weird.
stone tools.
So where did
achieve that kind of
Sunstreak
fine,
even come
deeply
from?
etched pattern
It
on
really
such hard
kicks
material
off back in the
implies
early
a
70s.
technology.
There was this sort of
Precisely. A
quiet
technological
panic
capability
brewing
that just
in
doesn't
the
fit the
intelligence world
conventional
during the Cold
picture
War.
of
Right.
ancient
Word got
Egypt.
out that
And
the
it's not just
Soviets
Egypt,
were
you said.
pouring
It's
serious
global.
money and effort
Right.
into parasitology.
It's not an isolated
not just
thing.
dabbling.
You
We're
find
talking
very similar
state-sponsored
patterns worked
experiments,
into the decorative
telepathy,
art in China's
moving
Forbidden
objects with
City.
the mind,
It's
psychokinesis,
all over
and
temples and
crucially,
used in
remote
mandalas in
viewing.
India.
Yeah, and when
And
U.S.
even fragments of this
intelligence picked up on
geometry
this,
have been found on
alarms went
ancient
off
Mesopotamian
big time.
clay
In the Pentagon,
tablets.
especially.
So
You can
across
imagine
all
the
these
fear,
different
right?
places,
What if this
different
stuff is
times,
real?
different
Even if it
languages,
only gives a small
what's the
advantage?
common
Exactly.
thread
The
in
U.S.
how they
could be
used it or
completely
viewed it?
blindsided
That's what's really
in a
striking.
conflict
In almost
that
every
doesn't
documented
use
case,
bombs or
it wasn't
spies in the
just,
traditional sense.
a
A
pretty
So this
design. It
perceived
was
threat, this
consistently
potential
linked to the
psychic
divine.
gap to
Creation.
create directly to the
Yes, or
CIA
the
starting
origin of
Project
life,
Stargate.
or directly
Which was
connected
kind
to
of
their
the umbrella
gods or
program. And under
cosmology.
Stargate, you get
It seems
these
that always carried
sub-projects.
this sacred
Project
fundamental
Sunstreak was
meaning.
one of them,
It was never
run by
just
the Defense
wallpaper.
Intelligence
Okay,
Agency,
so that
the
reverence,
DIA,
that connection
mostly
to the
through the
divine.
1980s.
Okay.
That naturally
So
leads into the
Sunstreak
first big
gets
conspiracy
going.
angle, doesn't
And
it?
on
The idea that this
paper,
wasn't a human
its
invention
job
at all.
sounds
Exactly,
well,
the ancient
almost
gift
straightforward
theory.
for
the
that
idea
world.
that the flower
Recruit
of life
people,
is like a
train them as
universal
remote
key,
viewers.
a piece of
Mhm.
fundamental
Get them to
knowledge that
project
was
their
delivered
consciousness,
to
basically.
humanity.
And
Delivered by
spy
who
on
or
Soviet
what?
facilities.
Gods.
Gather
Interpreted
intel.
as
Standard
gods by the
espionage,
ancients,
just with a
perhaps.
very
Modern theorists
unconventional
might lean
method.
more
But that's not
towards,
how it played out, was it? It became
advanced
clear pretty fast
extraterrestrial
this wasn't
visitors
just
leaving
about
behind a
finding
sort of
missile
primer
silos.
on
No, almost right
reality.
away, the
primer
viewers
on
weren't just
reality.
describing
That sounds like sacred
submarine
geometry.
pens or radar
Precisely.
installations. The
To
data
really
start getting
get why the symbol
weird.
is seen as so
Weird how?
powerful,
Well, that
you
was
have
the
to
big
understand
turning
sacred
point,
geometry.
really.
It's
The
this
viewers
belief
started
system,
reporting
really,
things
that
that
the universe
based on our
isn't
normal
chaotic.
understanding of
It's
physics
built
and
on
reality
math,
just
on
shouldn't exist.
patterns.
Things that
Yes,
shouldn't exist.
Built on
Okay, now we're
repeating
getting
mathematical
somewhere.
designs
Yeah.
and proportions.
The information they
Patterns
were
you
bringing
see
back
everywhere
was
in nature, the
pushing
spiral
way
of the
past the
galaxy,
boundaries of what
seashell,
anyone
the
expected.
branching of trees,
It
the structure
fundamentally
of
challenged what the
crystals.
program
And the
was
flower
even
of life
supposed
in
to
this
be
view
doing.
is like
So tell me about these
the
viewers.
master
They weren't
pattern,
just
the
random
source
people vehicle off the
That's
street.
the idea,
Right?
the foundational
Many had
blueprint
military
from which
backgrounds.
all
That's
these
right.
other
Often military
forms and
personnel.
patterns and existence are
And they
derived.
went through
Well,
this
let's break
really
down the geometry
specific,
itself for a second. It
structured
looks
training,
complex, but the construction is fairly
controlled
simple. Isn't it?
protocols
You
was
just
the
start
term.
with one
Like
circle.
coordinate
Right,
remote
draw
viewing
one
or
circle,
CRV. And you move the
CRV, okay.
compass
So it
point
wasn't
to
just,
anywhere on the
like,
edge of that
closing
first
your eyes
circle
and
and
hoping
draw
for the
another
best.
identical
No,
one.
very
And you
systematic.
just keep doing
They
that,
might be
placing the
given
center
just
of
a
the
set
next
of
circle on
geographic
an
coordinates
intersection
or
point
maybe a
on the edge of the
random number
previous one.
linked to
Exactly.
a target.
And this
Then they'd go through these
simple
stages,
repeating
sort of
action
drilling
generates
down,
this
describing
incredibly
sensory
intricate,
details,
perfectly
sketching
symmetrical
impressions,
lattice of 19
trying to build a
overlapping
picture of a
circles.
target
Okay,
they
so it
knew
looks
nothing
cool,
about
But
consciously.
what's supposedly
Often something hidden miles
inside
away,
that
maybe even
lattice?
sealed in an
Well,
envelope
according to
right
sacred
there on the
geometry
rim.
proponents,
And did it work
basically everything.
initially?
Well, the
Within
early
that
results
simple
were
structure, you can find the geometric foundations of reality
impressive
encoded.
maybe,
Like
but
what
small
specifically?
scale.
You find the
You know,
seed of
sketches
life,
that
which
look
is the first 7
surprisingly like a
circles,
Soviet
then
factory.
the egg of life,
Details
which
about a
relates to
hidden
early
bunker that
embryonic
later
cell
matched
division.
spy photos.
You find the vesica
enough to
species,
keep the
that
funding
almond
flowing,
shape deformed
definitely.
by
Okay, so
2
it had some
overlapping
legs.
circles,
Yeah.
But then, like you said,
representing
things took a
duality,
turn.
A
Intersection of
sharp
worlds,
turn,
yeah.
yeah. Because
And
it's one thing to
crucially, the
sketch a
geometry
building
you
you
shouldn't
should
know
construct.
about.
It's
The tree
something
of
else
life from the
entirely when your
Kabbalah is
trained
contained
military
within it.
viewers start
And
reporting
maybe most
experiences that just
significantly,
flat out
five
defy the
platonic
material
solids.
world as we
Okay,
know it.
refresh my
Let's-
memory.
what
Platonic
what kind of
solids are the 5
Well,
perfect 3D
get this.
shapes.
Some viewers
That's
started
them.
reporting
The
energy
tetrahedron,
beings,
the
What energy
cube,
beings?
Yeah.
octahedron,
Not people,
icosahedron,
not
and
animals, just
dodecahedron.
conscious
conscious energy forms that
Ancient
were apparently
philosophers,
watching them while they were
particularly
doing the
Plato,
remote
believed
viewing.
Watching the
were
viewers,
literal
okay, that's crazy.
fundamental
Right.
building blocks.
Others
of
claimed
all
they weren't
physical
just
matter.
moving across
Fire,
space, but
earth,
across time,
air,
getting
water,
glimpses
and
of
ether
ancient
with
history
or even
And
future
all 5 of
events.
those shapes can be derived
Time travel.
geometrically from the flower
That's
of
what they
life
reported.
pattern.
According
There's
to the
one
theory,
really
yes,
famous,
their
or
blueprints are
infamous
embedded
account.
within that structure.
A viewer
Okay, so if
insisted
this
they
one
saw
pattern,
the
the
Egyptian
flower of
pyramids
life,
being built,
genuinely
not by
contains the
Egyptians,
geometric blueprints
by,
for the fundamental
quote,
shapes
tall,
of matter and
luminous
key mystical
entities.
diagrams,
Luminous
like the tree of
entities
life,
building the pyramids.
the
I mean,
implication
that
becomes pretty
sounds like
profound,
something from a
doesn't
fringe
It leads to the
documentary.
question.
Exactly,
If you
except
could
these
fully
were reports
understand,
coming
truly
from within
decrypt,
a
and
classified
then apply the
military
secrets
intelligence
held within
program.
this
That's what
pattern.
makes you stop and think.
Could
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Any other examples?
Oh yeah,
Reality
another
itself.
one.
That's
Just a
strange.
proposition.
A
If the
viewer
cosmic
claimed they
codebook,
found hidden
mastering it means
spacecraft
mastering
under the
creation.
ice in
Which
Antarctica.
inevitably brings us to the idea
Hidden
of control. If
spacecraft.
this geometry is
Like
that
UFOs.
fundamental, that
It
powerful,
seems to be the
who
implication.
would want to control
and
access
guarded,
to that knowledge?
apparently,
Well,
by some
the
kind
sources
of
consistently
consciousness
point
that
fingers at
resisted
certain
intrusion,
groups,
known
like a
for,
psychic
let's
guard
say,
dog, but
their
not a dog.
interest in
Okay,
esoteric
wow.
knowledge
So these
and their
reports
historical
were they just
influence.
ignored, filed
You
away
hear
as
names
crazy?
like
Well,
certain
officially, a lot of the
factions
stuff
within
was
the
probably
Freemasons,
downplayed or
the
buried,
Illuminati, whether
classified
historical or
deep.
modern
But inside the
interpretations,
project,
and even
the whispers
powerful,
started.
long-standing
The idea took hold that
institutions
maybe
like the
remote
Vatican.
viewing wasn't
Why
just
would these
about
groups
spying
want to
on the
guard it?
Soviets
What's the
anymore.
perceived
Maybe-
threat or advantage?
Maybe it was about making
The sources
contact.
claim
This
it's
is where it gets
because
even
the
stranger,
follow
right?
holds
The
keys
connection
to
or the apparent
immense
connection
power.
to
not just spiritual power,
occult
but tangible,
practices.
world-changing
Yes, that's another
power.
layer to
Tangible
this
power.
whole thing that's
Like
just
technology.
fascinating.
Exactly.
People
Things like
within the program
advanced,
apparently
non-polluting
started
energy
noticing
generation,
these
what's
disturbing
often called
parallels
free energy,
between
and also
the remote
potentially
viewing techniques
methods
they were
for
developing and
unlocking
refining,
untapped abilities
and
of the human
practices
mind.
found in really
Consciousness
old
itself.
occult
And this is where Leonardo da
traditions.
Vinci
Occult
comes back in,
traditions,
right?
like
Like it
that.
wasn't just doodling this
methods
thing.
described
Far from
in
it.
esoteric
Da
orders.
Vinci seems to have been
Groups like
utterly
the Hermetic
obsessed with
Order
the
of the
flower
Golden
of life.
Dawn,
His
or the
notebooks are filled with
Rosicrucians.
meticulous
Okay.
sketches
They
of
were
the pattern
looking at
itself
rituals for
and detailed
astral
geometric
projection,
dissections of
achieving
the
trance
platonic solids he
states,
found within it.
intense
He used it in
visualization
his art and
exercises,
anatomical studies
the
too,
whole
didn't he?
idea of separating
Vitruvian
your
man
consciousness
proportions.
from
Yes,
your
he
physical
was
body.
clearly trying
Wait,
to
so the
understand the
technique
divine
Sunstreak was teaching its
proportions,
military
the
viewers.
cosmic harmony
Seemed to
supposedly
directly
embedded in the
mirror
Thefal,
these
and how it
ancient
related
mystical
to the human
practices.
form
It's
in the
quite
universe.
striking when
So
you
the
put them
theory
side by side.
suggests
So
Da
the
Vinci
question
wasn't just
becomes,
seeing it as art.
was
or
the
architecture.
Pentagon, was the
He understood it as
DIA
something more inadvertently
functional?
stumbling onto,
The conspiracy
or
theory
maybe
suggests he,
rediscovering
perhaps through
some kind
connections
of
with
ancient
powerful
technique,
patrons or
something
secret
mystics and
brotherhoods he might
secret
have been
societies
involved
have
with,
been using for centuries.
understood
That's the
the
implication,
FOL
yeah.
as
Was
an
this
energetic
military
system.
intelligence
An
program
energetic
actually
control
an
system.
unwitting
What
or
does that
maybe
mean?
witting occult
Like,
experiment?
That's
A way to
might have been
understand and
thought.
potentially
And it didn't
manipulate
stop there,
vibration
did it?
and frequency.
The experiences got darker.
Okay.
They
That
did.
connects to
Some
Nikola
viewers
Tesla
started
later on,
reporting
right? His whole
encounters with
energy,
actively
frequency,
hostile
vibration idea
presences.
for understanding the
Hostile.
universe.
How?
They
Precisely.
describe,
The
you know,
theory
entering a
posits that Da
location
Vinci's work,
mentally,
maybe
projecting
some
their
of which was
consciousness
suppressed
there
or lost,
only to be
was
confronted,
an early attempt
not by
to map
human
the
guards,
energetic
but
architecture
by what they
described
described
by
as
the Flower of Life.
shadowy entities,
The same
things that
architecture
seemed
Tesla believed
fully aware
held
of
the
their
key to
psychic
tapping
intrusion
into
and actively
universal,
tried to block
potentially
them
free
or push them
energy.
out.
Aware of
Wow.
Yeah.
So the
Like
implication is,
psychic guards.
if you
Essentially,
control the
yes,
geometric
which raises
matrix
a really
that dictates
profound
frequency,
and frankly
you can control
unsettling
matter.
possibility.
which is
Energy.
Well, if the human
Even
mind can actually travel
thoughts.
outside the body,
That's the ultimate
maybe,
claim.
Maybe
It's
those
framed as the
non-physical
hidden
realms aren't
operating
empty.
system
Maybe
of
other
reality.
intelligences already live
And if
there.
you know
maybe
the
they don't
code, you can
appreciate
rewrite the
visitors.
program.
Exactly.
Which is why it would be
Entities that
meticulously
disregarded
really
to
didn't
maintain the
want
existing
people like
power
the Sunstreak
structure.
viewers
Which
poking
explains
around.
the
It makes you
suppression part
wonder,
of the theory. Why isn't
was
this stuff
Sunstreak
taught in
opening
schools
doors that had
if
been
it's so
deliberately
fundamental?
shut for
Why
a
is
very
it
long
ignored by
time for a
mainstream
good
science?
reason?
Okay, so if they
The
were opening
argument
doors,
isn't that it's ignorance, it's
what exactly did
active
they find on the
strategic
other side?
suppression.
Why?
Because some of the most sensational
if everyone
claims
understood
are
it.
about
The whole house of
well,
cards comes
aliens.
down. The sources claim that if humanity collectively
This is where the
grasped
story
true
really goes
functional
into high
meaning
gear.
and application
We
of the
actually have
flower of life,
declassified
the entire
documents,
current
fragments,
global
hints
power
really that
structure built
suggest
on concepts
some
like
remote viewing
energy
sessions were
scarcity, centralized
specifically
control,
targeting Mars.
disease
Mars.
management would basically
Like
dissolve
the planet
overnight.
Mars.
Let's
The
unpack
planet
that
Mars.
collapse.
Give me some specifics.
There's one
How would
particularly
free
famous
energy based
session
on
often
SL
cited
principles
where a viewer
cause a
gave this
collapse?
incredibly detailed
imagine
description.
devices
They claimed
based on these
they were
geometric
observing
principles
Mars
could actually millions of years ago.
Millions.
limitless,
Millions.
clean energy.
And they
from the
described
quantum
seeing these
field or whatever
tall
the proposed
beings
source is.
sheltering inside
Free energy for
massive
everyone.
pyramidal
the entire
structures.
fossil
Pyramids on
fuel
Mars.
industry,
Pyramids on Mars,
oil,
as their
gas,
planet
coal,
was dying
becomes
around
worthless
them.
instantly.
A civilization
Trillions of
facing
dollars wiped
extinction.
out. Wow.
The
okay.
conventional electricity
That's
grid,
quite a claim.
same thing.
It is, and it
Think
wasn't
about
just
the
Mars.
geopolitical
Other
map.
sessions
So
allegedly
much of it
targeted
is based on
well-known
oil and
UFO
energy
hotspots
control.
and crash sites
The
on Earth,
petrodollar
including
system
Roswell,
potentially
Of course, Roswell had
crumbles.
to be in there.
It would be absolute
And viewers
economic
reportedly
and political
described
chaos,
seeing non-human
initially at
bodies,
least.
And it wouldn't
alien
stop there, would
artifacts,
it? What
all
about
hidden
health?
away deep
That's
inside
the other huge
classified
area.
government facilities.
Many mystics and
So
alternative
not just seeing
practitioners
things
claim that
far
the fellow's
away,
geometry,
but
its
seeing
vibrations,
things the
can be
government
used for
was
healing.
actively hiding.
To realign
That's
the body's
the claim.
energy
It
fields,
suggests the
promote
viewers
cellular
weren't just
regeneration,
passive
basically
observers.
holistic
They were
wellness without
potentially
drugs or surgery.
uncovering
So
evidence
if that
of
were
an
true
alien
and widely
presence that was
applicable.
being
The
actively
pharmaceutical
concealed.
industry, the
And then
massive
there's Wright
hospital
Patterson Air
industrial
Force Base,
complex.
right?
Their
Always comes
business
up in these
model,
stories.
largely based
Wright
on managing
Patterson.
chronic illness with
Another
expensive
chilling
treatments,
account involved a viewer
faces
who
an
claimed
existential
they
threat,
psychically
talking
entered
tens
a
of
hidden
trillions
chamber
globally.
deep
So from that
underground
perspective,
there.
suppression
What is
isn't just
containers?
conspiracy paranoia.
Holding
It's
biological
presented as a
specimens
calculated
that were
strategy for
completely
economic
unlike
and
anything
institutional
known on Earth.
survival. Alien
That's
bodies,
the argument,
basically.
yes.
That's
Keep the
strong
population
implication.
dependent on the
And
existing
another viewer,
systems.
possibly
Okay, let's
targeting
shift
the
gears
same
slightly.
location or
Beyond
a similar
secret
one,
societies and
claimed they
hidden tech,
witnessed some
there's the
kind
whole
of
extraterrestrial
psychic
angle too.
something
The
connecting human
ancient
minds
astronaut
to,
theorists
well,
jump
something
on
else,
the FFL.
something beyond
For
our
them,
world, out among
its
the
global
stars.
identical
psychic network
appearance in
connecting us to
antiquity
aliens.
isn't just
That was the
weird,
report.
it's proof.
So you look at all
Proof
these
of
accounts
alien
together,
contact.
Mars,
Yes.
Roswell, Wright
that
Patterson,
advanced beings
psychic
visited
networks.
Earth
It paints
in
a
the
very
distant
different
past
picture than
and
just
left
spying
this
on the
symbol,
Soviets.
maybe among other
Completely
things,
different.
as a kind
If you
of
take these
fundamental
reports
lesson.
at face value, even
Seeding
just cosmic
cosmic
secrets
the
into
implication
early
is
human
huge.
cultures.
And does
Project
this connect to more
Sunstreak
modern phenomena?
might have
It
started
does,
as
quite directly for
espionage,
some
but it
theorists,
seems to
they
have
point to
pivoted.
crop circles.
It became
Ah,
about
okay. How's the
preparing for
fellow fit in
contact
there?
with
Many
non-human
complex,
intelligence.
mathematically
Or
precise
maybe
crop
more
circles have
cynically,
appeared
about
depicting
making
the
sure that
flower of life
contact
or
remained a
intricate
secret,
variations based
kept
on its
far away
geometry.
from the public eye.
These formations
But the
often
theories
appear
don't even
overnight
stop
in
at
massive
just
fields,
ETs from
sometimes
other
with
planets,
bizarre
do they? Some
electromagnetic
people take it
effects
even
reported.
further. And the
That's right.
sheer scale
There's a whole
and
other
precision
branch of theory
defy
suggesting Sunstreak
easy
wasn't just
explanation, like some
encountering
with boards and rope.
extraterrestrials,
Exactly.
but potentially
So this feeds the
interdimensional
idea that the
Interdimensional,
FL
with
isn't just a
decades,
static
right.
symbol.
The
it
US
might
government
represent
line was
active
basically
technology. The crop circles are seen
supernatural
as
stuff,
perhaps
psychic powers,
ongoing
telepathy,
communication
seeing
or
things far away
demonstrations
with
of
your
this
mind.
technology.
Pure
kind of technology
fantasy,
we're talking
that's what
about?
they told everyone.
Here's where
Yeah,
it
that
gets
was the
really
public
sci-fi.
face.
Some
Complete
theories
skepticism.
link the
But,
FL geometry
while that was the
directly
official
to
story,
concepts like
behind closed
stargates or
doors,
portals.
something like travel between
Something
stars
much
and
stranger
dimensions
Yes.
was apparently going on.
The idea is that the
Deep
FL isn't just
inside
a
the
map of the
intelligence
universe's
community.
structure,
It's
but
a really
potentially
interesting
a
contrast,
key to
isn't it?
navigating.
Publicly, it's
it
all
contains
scientific
the
dismissal.
geometric frequencies
Privately,
or
the
coordinates
Pentagon, the
needed for
CIA,
interstellar or interdimensional
they're clearly
travel.
wrestling with something
A
very
cosmic
different.
passport,
These
as some
fantasies
sources
suddenly
put it.
become
Wow. Okay, bringing it back
a
down to
serious
earth.
strategic
Slightly.
issue.
What about
Exactly.
modern
and
human
that worry,
technology?
that
Is the
sort of
FL
creeping fear
supposedly
about
being
psychic
used
warfare, it
secretly
leads
now?
to one of
The
the
theories claim
honestly
yes,
most bizarre
absolutely,
and top
that
secret
powerful
projects
groups
of
or
the whole Cold
corporations
War.
haven't just
Project
guarded the
Sunstreak.
knowledge, they're
I mean, just
actively
picture
using its
an
principles,
actual government
embedding the
project trying to
geometry into
weaponize the
systems we
human
interact
mind.
with
Funded off the
daily.
books, such as
Totally.
You hear claims
Officially,
about
the
its use
cover
in things
story,
like
or maybe the
advanced
initial idea
architectural
was
design for energy
remote
flow
viewing.
or harmonic resonance.
this
in the fundamental
supposed
layout of
ability
microcircuit
for
boards.
trained people to
Even
just
some suggest
perceive
in the structuring of
distant
complex
places, secret
artificial
enemy
intelligence
bases, maybe
neural
even peek into the
networks.
future.
AI neural nets.
all just
How would
using
that
their
work?
minds.
The idea
And
is
we
that
should
the
be
Fellas
clear, this
pattern
wasn't
represents
some,
an
like,
optimal
side
structure for
hobby. It wasn't
information
just a
flow
few
and
folks messing
interconnectedness.
around.
Okay.
Perhaps
This was a
making
strategic
AI
move,
more
a
efficient,
direct
integrated
response to
if,
what they thought the
based on that
Soviets were doing.
geometric blueprint.
They were
And the biggest
urgently
one?
trying to get an edge
The
in
internet
a
itself.
completely new
That's a
kind
major
of,
claim,
well,
yes.
battlefield. That
And
the
that's what we're doing
fundamental
today. We're gonna
architecture
peel
of the
back
World
those
Wide
layers
Web,
of
the
secrecy,
interconnected nodes
really
and pathways,
deep dive into
mirrors
Project
flower of life
Sunstreak
geometry.
and the
And
kind
the
of
purpose
wild
behind that,
conspiracy
according to the
theories that are
theory,
still
not
swirling
just
around.
Yeah, because the story
No, the more
goes way
conspiratorial
beyond
angle
just
is that it was a
psychic
deliberate
spying.
Oh,
design
absolutely.
choice, a way
It might
to
have cracked open the door to,
entangle
well,
humanity
alien
in a digital
contact,
net.
maybe even
subtly
sources
influencing
suggest
thought patterns
interdimensional
and
conflict.
reinforcing
It gets
the
pretty out
systems
there.
of control
It really
over
does.
information
So we're going to look at where it
communication.
came
We
from,
talked
the
about
really unsettling
so we've
things that
covered
viewers
secret
reported
societies,
seeing,
ancient aliens,
the
tech.
weird overlaps with old
But there's
occult
also
stuff,
a purely
and these
mystical
incredible
side
claims
to the
about
flower of life, isn't
contacting
there?
Oh, absolutely.
the unknown.
For many
So yeah,
mystics and
settle in.
spiritual
This is where things
practitioners,
get
the
weird.
fellow isn't
So where did
about
Sunstreak even
technology
come
or
from?
control in the
It
physical
really
sense.
kicks off back in
It's
the early
about
70s. There was
consciousness.
this sort of
How do they use it?
quiet
Often through
panic
meditation.
brewing in
Simply
the
gazing at
intelligence
the
world
pattern,
during the Cold
focusing
War.
on it,
Right.
is
Word
believed
got
to
out
help
that the
unlock
Soviets
higher
were
states of
pouring
consciousness,
serious money and
to
effort
align
into
your personal
parapsychology.
energy
And
field
not just
with the
dabbling. We're
supposed
talking
universal
state-sponsored
blueprint.
experiments.
And they claim
Telepathy,
tangible benefits
moving
from this.
objects
Yes.
with the mind,
Things like
psychokinesis,
enhanced
and
intuition,
crucially,
feelings
remote
of
viewing.
interconnectedness,
Yeah, and when U.S.
promoting
intelligence
physical
picked up
healing
on
by
this,
balancing the body's
alarms went
energies,
off.
facilitating
Big time.
experiences
The
like
Pentagon,
astral
especially.
travel,
You can imagine
or
the
even
fear,
enabling
right? What if this stuff
communication
is
with
real?
non-physical
Even if it only gives a
beings or
smaller
higher
dent?
aspects
Exactly.
of the self.
The U.S. could be
It's seen as a
completely
direct blindsided in a conflict
So it has
that
this dual
doesn't
nature
use
then,
bombs or
immense
spies
potential
in the
power,
traditional
both
sense.
technological
So this
and spiritual.
perceived threat,
But also
this
a
potential psychic
significant
gap,
warning
it
attached.
leads
What's the
directly to
warning?
the CIA
Across many of
starting
the
Project
esoteric
Stargate.
sources that
Which was
discuss
kind
its
of the
power,
umbrella
there's a strong
program. And under
cautionary tale.
Stargate, you get these
FLO
sub-projects.
represents
Project
fundamental
Sunstreak
creative
was one of
energy.
them.
If you try to
run by the
wield that
Defense
power
Intelligence
without
Agency,
sufficient
the
wisdom,
DIA,
spiritual
mostly
maturity,
through the
or the right
1980s.
intention.
Okay, bad things happen.
So Sunstreak
It said it can
gets going,
seriously unbalance the
and
mind.
on paper,
or, metaphorically,
its job
open
sounds,
doorways that cannot be closed.
almost straightforward for
You might
that world.
access energies or
Recruit
realities
people,
you're not prepared
train
to
them
handle,
as
leading
remote
to negative
viewers.
consequences.
Get them to
Is there a
project their
classic
consciousness,
example of this
basically,
misuse
and
leading to
spy on
disaster?
Soviet
The
facilities,
most frequently
gather
cited one is
intel.
the legend
Standard
of Atlantis,
espionage.
just with a very
How does the
unconventional
Tableau
method.
L
But that's
fit
not
into
how it
its
played out,
downfall?
was it? It became
The
clear
theory
pretty fast
in
this
many
wasn't
New
just
Age
about
and
finding
esoteric
missile
circles
silos.
is
No,
that the
almost right
Atlanteans
away,
had
the viewers
mastered
weren't
the
just
principles of the
describing,
flower of
submarine
life.
pens or
They
radar
used its energy
installations.
for
The data
incredible
started
technology
getting
for power.
But they got greedy or
Weird how.
arrogant.
Well, that was the
Exactly.
big turning
They
point.
supposedly
The viewers
misused
started
the sacred
reporting
knowledge,
things that,
turning a
based
tool
on
of
our normal
creation and
understanding of
harmony
physics and
into a source
reality,
of
just
power shouldn't
struggles.
exist.
Possibly
Things that
even
shouldn't
weaponry.
exist. Okay, now
And
we're
this
getting
misuse
somewhere.
of fundamental creative
the information
energy
they
is
were
what
bringing
ultimately
back
led
was
to their
pushing
cataclysmic
way past the
downfall.
boundaries of what anyone
It serves as the
expected.
ultimate
It
warning about
fundamentally
power
challenged what the
without
program
wisdom.
was even
Okay, so
supposed
let's
to
try
be
and
doing.
pull all these threads
So
together.
tell me about these
We've
viewers.
gone from
They
ancient
weren't just
Egypt to
random
Da
people
Vinci
off
to
the
crop
street, right?
circles to the
Yeah,
internet.
Many had
it's a
military
lot, yeah.
backgrounds.
That's right,
The flower
often
of life
military
emerges
personnel.
as this.
And they went through this really
Multi-layered
specific,
It's
structured
simultaneously
training,
just a simple geometric pattern found
controlled
everywhere.
protocols,
An
was the
encoded
term.
blueprint,
like coordinate
supposedly,
remote
of the
viewing
entire
or
structure of
CRV.
CRV, okay.
A
So it
potential
wasn't
key
just
to suppress
like
technology,
closing your
like
eyes and hoping
free
for the best.
energy.
No,
healing.
no, very
A tool
systematic.
for mystical
They might be
consciousness
given just a
expansion.
set of
And
geographic
potentially
coordinates or
a
maybe a
dangerous
random
power
number
source
linked
or
to a
mechanism for
target.
global
Then
control
they'd go through these
if
stages, sort of
misused or
drilling
guarded by
down,
the wrong
describing
hands.
sensory
That's a pretty good
details,
summary
sketching
of the core
impressions,
conspiracy narrative
trying to
surrounding it.
build a
Blueprint
picture of a
creation,
target they knew
possibly
nothing
left
about
by aliens
consciously,
or an older
often something hidden
civilization,
miles away,
actively
maybe
guarded
sealed
and
in an
suppressed by
envelope
secret
right there in the
societies for
room.
control.
And did it work?
Its misuse
Initially.
warned against
Well, the
by
early
ancient
results
legends
were
like
apparently
Atlantis, and maybe even embedded in our
intriguing,
modern
impressive
time.
maybe,
And just to
but
circle
small
back
scale.
to the beginning, the
You know,
elegance of the
sketches that
pattern
looked
itself is that
surprisingly
it's
like
made
a
entirely
Soviet
of
factory,
circles.
which have
No
details
beginning and
about
no
a
end,
hidden bunker that
symbolizing
later matched
infinity,
spy photos.
unity, the
Enough to
cyclical
keep the
nature
funding
of
flowing,
everything.
definitely.
Okay, so
Quite
it had some
poetic,
legs.
really.
Yeah.
But
So
then, like
after
you said,
all this,
things took
yeah.
a turn. The
A
history,
sharp turn, yeah,
the
because it's
geometry,
one
the
thing to
theories.
sketch a building you shouldn't
What's the
know
final
about.
takeaway?
It's something
Well,
else
maybe the
entirely
ultimate
when
truth
you're
about the
trained
flower of life
military
isn't something
viewers
you can just
start
pin
reporting
down with
experiences
facts
that
and
just
figures or conspiracy
flat out
theories.
defy the
Maybe it's
material
something
world
more
as we know it.
experiential.
Like
the mystic
suggest.
what kind of
Something
thing?
you have to engage
Well, get
Perhaps.
this. Some
It
viewers
keeps
started
appearing
reporting throughout history,
energy
across
beings.
What energy
cultures,
beings?
like this
Yeah.
persistent
Not people,
echo, this
not
code
animals,
that seems
just
to be
conscious
waiting,
energy
waiting
forms
for
that were
us,
apparently watching
individually
them while they
or
were doing the remote
collectively,
viewing.
Watching
to
the
finally
viewers, okay,
unlock
that's
its
creepy.
meaning.
So the
Others
question
claimed
really
they weren't
bounces
just
back to
moving
the listener,
across
doesn't it?
space.
It does.
but
If you
across
decide
time,
to truly look
getting
into this
glimpses of
pattern, to
ancient
meditate on it, to
history or
explore
even
its
future
geometry and its
events.
implications.
Time travel.
What might happen next?
That's what they're
What
reporting.
reality could
There's
paying
one
attention
really
to this
famous
ancient,
or
ubiquitous
infamous
symbol
account.
potentially
A
reveal or
viewer
even change
insisted
in
they
your own
saw
life?
the Egyptian